Today on Criminal Minds, we talk about kids go missing and kids returning. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV After Show. We are here doing Criminal Minds, Season 12, Episode 6, Elliot's Pond. What a creepy episode this was.
It was.
I'm your host, Marissa Serafini. You can follow me on Twitter at SeraphiniTV. Joining me, I have
Michelle Cullen. You can find me on Twitter at Michelle_Cullen.
And Chris Howard. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Howard Live.
Boom. Great timing.
That was.
Excellent.
You thought it was by accident?
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Coincidental. Elliot's Pond, directed by Matthew Gray Gubler himself.
Yes.
Yes, and I think every episode that he directs is usually like the creepy
It's got the
aspect
twist
of
to it. Yeah.
Definitely. But real quick thoughts of it.
Overall, I enjoyed it. It was a very unique episode for Criminal Minds in how it was executed and how there was no traditional unsub or profile in this instance. So it was very unique, and I found that intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel the same?
Well, I didn't care for it as much as I liked some of the other ones because I really do like the profiling and that type of stuff. But, you know, what kind of got me at the end was thinking stuff like this really does happen. You know, it's like people disappear and are taken captive and they're found years and years later. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's a lot of reality to it. So I appreciate that aspect of it. I do like all the profiling and stuff. That's what I really get out of it. But, these things happen. And so it's a reality type story.
Yeah. So dare say you miss it. You miss that aspect.
You dare say correct. Yes, I do miss the profiling. Thank you.
All right. I think we all did. But, like, I think the great thing about watching this episode, when I watched it, I didn't realize till after the fact that, we didn't have them line up and tell everybody this is the kind of person we're looking for.
You didn't see that? You didn't catch it while it was happening?
No, because I was, like, so engrossed in what was happening and, like, how everything was coming together, and obviously worried about these kids that go missing, but I didn't realize that they didn't really tell us, like, the kind of person we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. I was kind of more aware of it while it was going through, but nonetheless, it was. Like I said, it's an interesting episode just from the perspective for me. This stuff happens all the time. It happens every day. You hear stories on the news about people that were captured, and it's got to be a horrific experience. So I could relate from that perspective.
Yeah. Especially with, Criminal Minds does a great job when it happens to deal with teenagers or children. And we had an earlier episode of this season that dealt with kids. And
yes, we did.
I'm so surprised that they did another one so soon.
Are we talking about the one with they were killing people from the school?
When they were killing the teenagers.
Right.
The JJ's episode when she was, like, having
and they did handle that
issues.
Really well too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that is interesting. You're more familiar with the show than I am. Is that so? The kid type issues, it only happens every now and then.
Yeah, it's usually like once a season.
Yeah,
but then to have 2 episodes and it matters like.
And in the
4
first
episodes.
half of this,
I'm not saying I don't like it at all. I'm just surprised that
it might be
we
a
got
social
another
responsibility
series.
thing too, that they don't want to go there that much, just to not put it out in people's consciousness or something like that.
Perhaps.
Who knows?
Yeah, perhaps. But let's get into this episode, shall we?
let's do it.
Let's talk about BAU, because we got some big news in this episode. First of all,
Yeah, we did.
they finally addressed how Hotch, a.k.a. Thomas Gibson, leaves the show. Are you satisfied with how they wrote off his character? Now him being him and Jack in the witness protection program because Scratch resurfaced and they had to go away.
Yes. I think I even made that one of my predictions early on, was that they wouldn't kill him off. They would just make him go into hiding or something until Mr. Scratch is found.
Really? You thought it was specifically that guy that, you are good.
I don't think they would kill off his character when he has Jack. They would just make them go away.
Yeah, I think he was a loved character. Everybody appreciated him. Something happens that causes the necessity to get rid of that character. I thought they did a really classy way, and a nice, classy send off. It wasn't like Charlie Sheen when they dropped the piano on his head. I said that
Yeah, you
with 2.5 Men. So they were real respectful of his character, and I think that was a good way to handle it.
Yeah, and they did it in such a way that if things were to become resolved on set, and he was welcomed back, like he could come back.
We don't think that's going to
If
happen
Scratch
at this
was
point.
caught,
We don't know.
if Scratch was caught ever, like toward the end of the season or something, I don't know.
But there must be a pretty big upset though, because they showed him in the opening sequence for the first 2 episodes and then removed him.
Yep.
It must have been some
Yeah.
pretty tight tensions on set that would cause somebody to leave like that. So
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it, but
yeah.
they left him alive, right?
Yeah,
They did,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy for that because he was a beloved character, and I can just imagine the uproar that they would have, like the fans would have,
yeah.
had they killed off his character.
The
Plus,
no
if they
Hotch.
killed him off and we didn't even see it, we're like, what the heck? You know, that there'd just be chaos all around.
There's got to be respect for the producers on that
Yeah.
front, though, too, because it's like I was doing the UFC after show, and there was one of the guys that didn't like one of the fighters didn't like the call that the judge made, and then went out and kicked after the judge who had made that call. And you knew that there had to be something that happened because there's got to be rules and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
so he got
Reprimanded.
sanctioned and reprimanded and stuff like that. And it's normal.
I think overall it was handled beautifully. It
Yeah.
was cohesive to the storyline, and it was very gracious and graceful, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think of Prentice? Because we now know that Hotch's final request was that Prentice becomes the new chief unit.
I know what you think.
Unit chief. Unit. You know what I
Look, you're
think.
trying to hide it.
No, I'm not hiding it. I'm trying it all. I'm happy.
I like it a lot. I'm curious to see how easy it is for her to leave her London life. Like I'm curious where that storyline is going to go. If it's just going to be left behind and it's kind of okay, she's here now, she's the unit chief, she's doing it, or if there's some fallout with Interpol or her boyfriend
Or if the boyfriend comes over, I think we're going to
Yeah.
get a new character is what we're going to get.
Mark, quote unquote,
Yeah.
that's her boyfriend.
That's great. I'm free if you need. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see a fallout from Interpol because she has great relationships,
That's true.
wherever she goes, and she obviously is well equipped and she can handle all of this, and she definitely has the credentials for it, and the experience and the wherewithal to do all of this. So, I'm not worried about Prentice taking over whatsoever, and we even see JJ and Reed so happy that she taking this position.
yes.
Yeah,
You know,
they were all
want
voting for her. They were all behind her. Yeah.
Yeah, they want her. So I'm happy. And it makes me just think back when Paget Brewster officially came back and her character came back, and in the title credits opening sequence, that she's smack dab in the middle. They planned that. They planned her
good.
to be the It's like, yeah, I'm totally okay with that. I'm actually very happy. And but I did love the toast at the end. We'll obviously get to the case, but the toast at the end and what Rossi was saying.
Was classy.
Yeah.
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 Classy way to do it. I mean, that's the antithesis of the piano on the head. That's like, hey, let's all get together and we're all family, and people may come and people may go, but it's unusual that we're all here together, and we're going to go the distance because we rock.
I would love a montage video of all of Rossi's toasts. I feel like it would just be the most eloquent thing. A little piano underscore.
I would love it too. And I'm just trying to think back of all the scenes that we had.
Right? Well,
Anywhere at Rossi's house,
yeah.
restaurants.
Like JJ's wedding happened at his house.
Yeah,
Just-
very true, very true. But he did say one of the best lines, we stand beside one another through good and the bad because we're family. Welcome home, Prentice. Makes me all good.
The funny thing is, your attitude really improves around this place based on the episode. That's a real fan.
Well, yeah, I love this show. It was a great episode, and the fact that we didn't get the profiling aspect as much, we got more of the cast, the main central cast, because we're bringing them together. That I think that will, I don't want to say trumps it, but it was a big story that we kind of had to focus on.
There was.
makes
You
me
did see the
happy.
characters more, didn't you?
Yeah.
We got to see more dialogue and that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very character-central episode,
Yes.
which I'm happy with that too. All right, let's get to the actual case. We had a flashback early at the beginning of the episode. In 1983, we see these 3 kids there, the Henson twins, playing in cornfields, which is not smart, at night.
That sounds scary. Would
It
you
is
do
scary.
that?
No, but okay. I'll just preface this because this is relevant. I grew up with literally a cornfield 5 feet from my backyard. I could walk into the cornfield and walk for another 3 miles and no one could find me.
Wow.
You don't want to do that, ever. Like, so these kids doing that at night, stupid. That's
true.
just straight up stupid. Who would do that?
Yeah, well, they were dared.
It's true, but come on. You just like they.
Well, not the 3
I'd
kids.
like
The
to
3.
give
It was the
them
2 kids first that were
benefit
dared,
of the
right?
doubt that they're smarter enough to do
No,
that.
kids aren't smarter than that.
Yeah.
Scary. But
bold.
yeah, we see that moment where big flashing light, they end up splitting up and a big flashlight. And it seems like there was an alien kind of sound effect. Like
Yeah.
someone
That's why I
abducted
thought I was watching the wrong show, quite frankly. I stopped and I thought, what's this alien thing that looks like it's hovering above them? I'm like, this can't be. This is this what Stranger Things or whatever? I'm like, let me try to change the show, and I'm like, oh no, Criminal Minds, all right.
Yeah. I'm still not, like, there's no definitive answer on who abducted the twins, so there's no clear answer as
Well, it was
to
Clemens, yeah.
as to well,
it was Clemens.
you can assume it was Clemens because he was crazy and it was his house, right?
Yes.
So it's pretty safe. Okay, we'd know. But like how the light was so high, like I'm still, it wasn't like a flashlight shining
Yeah.
at their
And
eye level. It was way up here.
like it was being someone
was a
was
beam,
coming down
yeah.
from the sky to
It was
abduct them.
weird.
Well,
But
you know
do
how
have
it
to
started,
remember,
though.
Yeah, you do have to remember this is a retelling of
Yes.
a scary
True.
story. So of
Yeah.
course it's kind of played up to what the imagination is.
That's very true.
Nicely put.
So
Yes, yeah, it was a story they were telling.
yes,
Yeah.
but that leads us to the present day where the second set of kids go missing, and we have Bones. Bones Jarvis, Josh Hartman, and PK Ratings. They're all teenagers. They all like to play together and create scary movies, film scary movies together, but they go missing. And they're also playing in the cornfield. You'd think they'd
Kids.
learn.
They're quite ambitious with their filmmaking, and they, you know.
Yeah. But then they go missing. Like, what do you think would have happened? I mean, these kids go missing, and I'm glad that they actually like turned in, like someone filed the missing reports for like all these 3 kids. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's scary because every time they said, kids go missing, there's that short time window.
Yep.
Yeah, what is that time window?
24
24
hours. 20, and like 12 hours have already passed, so they only have like another
Right.
12 to go before they have to collect
Right.
bodies.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they said. But I liked how the team comes in, and we had the usual disbursement of everybody. But let's first break it up with Reed and Prentice, and they go to the actual cornfield. Fortunately, during the day, but they run into Jimmy Ridley. What were your thoughts of Jimmy Ridley?
That's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both had a strange reaction to that because, especially when he was hiding under the sink, it was, I couldn't figure out. I knew that there was the mental hospital that had burned down previously in that town, but Jimmy Ridley seemed really incapacitated mentally and not altogether there. And then between that and also Clemens not being altogether. Kind of having, what did she call it, bats in the belfry?
In the belfry.
B-A-N-N-N, yes. Yeah.
Bananas.
Bananas. A little Gwen Stefani woven in. But,
I did love that.
yeah, but to have 2 characters that were so mentally feeble, I guess I'll say, kind of surprised me. And I was looking for the connections. And I guess it was the mental hospital that had burned down in that area, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so this is what I like to call unconventional unsubs because we didn't really get it specific. We got like 4 different kind of creepy people who
Yeah.
were
Small town.
small town, quote unquote. Like all these people who could potentially be it. We started with Jimmy Ridley. I mean, I actually meant Dealey Henson. They run into Dealey Henson.
He's the same.
But since you did mention Jimmy Ridley, we'll talk about him. He's the one who was in the footage of what the kids were filming.
Yeah.
pickup truck. They go to his house and realize he's actually been stalking these kids. So did you think from that he was the unsub?
No.
No.
I don't-
Why not?
I know. It was just kind of I could tell that the way that he was behaving and hiding under the sink. I mean, I believed his story right away when he said it.
Okay.
But
Yeah, it's
Just
very
the-
suspicious, the behavior still, but
it is. It's awkward. It's not really a good trespassing system to just catch them in the act and take a picture of them and then hang it on a Christmas tree. I wouldn't recommend that system. But it does, I mean, you could see the pictures were all the same type of photo from outside.
I mean, but if you were a police officer
Oh,
and
you would
found
absolutely
that, what would you
investigate
think?
the crap out
yeah,
of that.
you'd go, "Shh, this guy is. I mean, wouldn't you like that? Would be the hard thing to keep your mind open after finding something like that, don't you think?
Yeah,
tough.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's pretty damning.
Well, also, like, when they find him under the sink, there was that moment where he was, like, kind of, like, hissing.
Really weird. Yeah.
And it just makes me think that maybe mentally he was unstable,
yeah.
stalking these kids.
I feel like the overlapping theme with all of the characters that could have been potential unsubs was like just extreme isolation
Okay.
on different levels.
Now I'm trying to
Extreme
process that.
isolation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Dealey self-isolated
Right.
in order to cope or not cope with being blamed and a suspect in his siblings' disappearance. And then Ridley is a little unstable and has chosen to stay on the farm, isolated. His father and his grandfather have both died, whom he was named after. So he's only known their way of thinking too. And then we have
Clemens.
Crazy Clemens, who Bananas.
Yeah.
And Coop seemed a little crazy too. He seemed a little off the cuff.
You think so?
Didn't he? Did there seem something
I
strange
didn't
with
really
him?
get, like, a weird
No.
vibe
No.
from Cooper.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, this isn't the kind of small town that you'd want to kind of go walking around at night and stuff. There were quite a few of them that could have.
Well, it's a small town. They all know each other.
Yeah.
Even, like, when Dealey Henson comes into the picture, or rides into the picture, really, he was like, hello, Dealey, do you need a ride? Like, so he
Right. Yeah.
knew
Exactly.
everybody.
Yeah.
Like, he was friendly to everybody. But it seems like what Dealey was saying about him when he was younger, that he wasn't as nice of a
But
guy
that's what I
as
was
he
thinking.
used
That's what I
to
thought.
be.
Boy, there's some kind of weird. But it was probably all Dealey's stuff, quite frankly. Because he had a lot of it.
Did you feel bad for Dealey knowing his backstory? He was part of, the whole night of all that. It was his brothers and sisters that went missing, but the whole town turned on him thinking that he was the one who actually killed his siblings.
Yeah. That's got to be a terrible burden to go through life with, especially if you know you're innocent. And then to have your parents blame you, like never say that they think you did it, but to blame you for their disappearance until they die.
I think probably part of the part that got him too was he was the one who told him to go through the cornfield.
Yep.
So that, more even than, I mean, you can't say more. I'm not in his position, but that must have really just put a fork in his gut and turned it,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of guilt he was carrying out.
Yeah, I felt bad for him, especially during the moment when he was talking that, it was his parents that blamed him. I was like, when his own family kind of turns on him, then
And,
how
and,
does
and
that
he
leave
blamed
you?
himself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and he also thought the worst because apparently if you cut through the corn, you can also pass Elliot's pond. And they mentioned that the pond freezes over. And I just thought the worst. I was like, oh, what did they fell in the pond and it froze over and they died that way.
Yeah. And that's clearly what he thought. Like
Yeah.
they found clothes by there in the same way they found the backpack.
that was the weird part. Like, I didn't get the backpack was caught in a bear trap.
Yeah, there were survivalist traps.
Survivalist hunting traps.
Hunting traps.
So how did the backpack get caught? Maybe they put it down or something?
I think so.
I think they probably
Yeah.
dropped it.
Because it
along
would
with it, 'cause it
normally
was,
be a
like,
foot that would
stuck
get caught, not a
somewhere.
backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we learned that Reginald Clemens,
Reginald.
what a name. Reginald Clemens, he was the person who was potentially, probably. More likely so, the person who was the first person who took the Henson twins back in
Unless it was the
1983. I'm
That's
gonna rule out the
very-
aliens.
yeah, okay.
I'm gonna rule out the aliens. But there was a good thing that we learned about Clemens, and I mean, not really good, but it was informational stuff that like he had a prior and he arrested a minor, but his claim was loneliness. So they realized that maybe it was for a dual purpose, for loneliness and companionship.
Yep.
Yeah. So he kidnapped a kid before. So
Yes.
it's like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
They-
yeah.
Yeah, no, it just gives you good reason to think, okay, well, there's a person to look toward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy guy by the lake, kidnapped a kid before. Okay, I think we're getting closer.
And he was also, off his rocker and had the thing like he always wanted to be protected from the aliens. And but I loved Alves during this situation, and he's pretty much the one that figures it out. He's like, maybe he didn't kill these kids. Maybe he's had them this whole time. Did you think that the twins from back then were still alive?
Yes.
Did you? But did you think that before he was figuring it out, or kind of
Yeah.
simultaneously?
What led you to believe that?
Yeah. See, now I can't defend it. I don't remember what I was thinking when I watched that, but I remember thinking it makes total sense that it would be them now because they were with him from a young age and they were brainwashed into his extreme way of thinking. So you either adopt that lifestyle or you crack type thing. So
Yeah, it's kind of the what's the syndrome they call it when the captives start to really care about their what is it, Helsinki or something? Or
why do I
it
forget
will
what it's
come.
called?
Let us know, please.
At some point,
yeah.
I'll remember this.
But where the prisoners actually start to sympathize
Sympathize with
with
their
their
captors,
captor.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's brainwashing is what it is. If that's all you know, it does happen.
Yeah, they had one of the good lines. One survivalist bred two more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, okay, if Reginald Clemens thought that way, then the Henson twins, now probably grown up, thought that way. Which was really, really creepy when we actually saw the Henson twins. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm not one for horror. Like, scary, like, actually, those cheap, spooky kind of movies. No, I don't like that. I was like, you can keep that out of Criminal Minds. I think they did a great job of showing them. Super creepy. Oh my god.
Yes.
Super creepy.
Was he completely shaved? Like he was bald, but he also didn't have eyebrows, I think.
Yeah, like they were both
was extreme.
emaciated.
I missed that part. But they looked crazy, like Old Man Clemens had looked crazy, so they kind of followed suit.
Yeah.
And, that's what you do. You emulate the people around you.
Yep. Don't go out into the sunlight that often. Probably don't
Right, they almost
get
looked...
the protein you need.
yeah, they almost look like
resources.
albino or something. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they
seem-
obviously weren't eating properly. They weren't taking care of themselves. You can believe that they've been isolated for a long time.
Yep.
And like they were both kind of like bug-eyed, like big eyes,
Right.
like just like emaciated, unhealthy looking.
Yeah.
Like they've
Yeah,
been
and the bug eyes
stuck in
are
place.
like crazy out there,
Yes, but I think the reveal of both of them the first time was scary, especially with the light on Johnny at the first time.
Yep.
Scared the crap out of me. And then the reveal of Allie when she like was slowly poking her head through the curtains.
Yep.
And, like you could just kind of delineate that she's there, but you don't actually see her face. And then the slow reveal of both of them. Oh my goodness, I was scared in this episode.
I'm sure the kids were too.
Yeah,
Actually, I thought the kids.
it's not the Berlin syndrome, is it?
No.
No.
I was like just thinking of all these syndromes
I
that go
know.
through my head.
It's gonna bug me. The kids did very well, all things considered.
Yeah, they did. They weren't.
Yeah.
They didn't look too shaken. I mean, if people that looked like that grabbed you, you'd be pretty. You'd be flipping out.
Well, and I feel bad. I remember who Bones was, but the curly-haired kid that didn't need the snacks for his growth spurt, the one that came up with the
PK?
plan. PK.
PK.
Well, for his ghost story, what was funny is was he the little chubbier one? Because they gave him the cookies in the end. Did you
I know,
notice
I
that?
thought that
I'm
was
like, why'd
so
you get the fat
cute.
kid the cookies?
They were Nutter Butters. It was adorable. But
Wasn't that like racist?
No,
No, I know it's not racist, but
No, that's terrible.
But-
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm. Hey, I said
Yeah, it's
Helsinki, right? The Helsinki. How far is it really? I mean, it's like-
Some German.
yes, thank you.
That
You
was
win.
great.
Good.
You
yeah,
win.
Stockholm.
but PK was very much
It just came to me.
that was great. Very much a survivalist in the helpful sense of, okay, we need a plan, we need to stay calm, I'm going to do this, you have to go do this, and kind of just helping his friends get through it. Their plan did not work, but A for effort. And
effort.
FBI came in right in time.
And
so
thank
it's all
you,
good.
thank you to Fantasy Stats Guru who gave us the term.
Thank
Fantasy
you.
Stats Guru is always on top
Thank
of
you,
this stuff.
Fantasy
Yes, thank you.
I didn't
Thank
even
you.
look on Twitter. I was just like, it came to me and I Googled it. I was like,
Sure
that's
it did.
Now you can see my Google research.
Ah.
But that just makes me think, like, had Dealey Henson, because it seems like he was the one who was making the decisions back then, had he stuck with his siblings, they would have survived if that happened.
Perhaps. I mean, if they,
Yeah.
I think,
you reckon if they all went through the cornfield?
or no, like, if all three of them got captured back then, Dealey was the headstrong person to think of solutions to get out of it. I think Dealey would have
Yeah.
helped them escape. But he wasn't with them, therefore
Also, and he was a little older. He would have been a little
Yeah.
stronger.
probably
yeah.
like I think they would have had a better chance had Dealey been still with the
Right.
other two.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that the three kids survived. And I mean, when you add teenagers to the story, you kind of have to have a happy story at the end,
Yeah.
especially when they come and return them to the parents, which slow motion, sentimental music.
Yeah.
It was
Always.
beautiful.
I'm not crying, you're crying kind of situation.
It was.
Yeah, but it's, and like I said, these things happen. I mean, we hear about this in the news where people were taken for 20 years and they emerge. And it's like, wow, that must really shake everything up in their lives. While I was watching this episode and even afterwards, I was kind of thinking back to, the young girl who had been taken by that mountain man, what's her name, Elizabeth Smart. And then you think of some of these people that are held captive. The three women that were held captive by the guy in that house, and they
Yep.
came out. Yeah, it's like, my God, that must be horrible. So I think the one thing that this episode really did for me was it caused me to reflect more on the lives of the people that this has really happened to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they had a happy moment with, the teenagers there, that they were all fine. Yes, it did get, real at that moment, and I always love the BAU's reactions when they finally return the kids.
Can you help me? BAU means what?
Behavioral analysis unit.
Thank you.
I got you.
BA.
She's all over those acronyms.
Yep. Yeah. Lots of words, lots
Yes.
of terminology.
I do love the pure joy that's on their face.
It was great. And I did love this moment in between all of this. We had, of course, Garcia being the light and fluffy person that we love.
I love Garcia.
Yeah, she's amazing. But her moment got real with Rossi on the phone.
Yeah.
What did you think of their conversation?
I think that is probably not said enough in that field of work. But it's always good to just talk about it and think about it, because you never want to be stuck in a situation where you're just assuming you're going to keep seeing the same people every day and you might not have been as nice that day, or you just didn't say anything to them because you weren't feeling it, and then you're like racking your brain and feeling self-guilt for what your last words were. This is a unique, I learned this term from Pretty Little Liars, ambiguous loss. Because it's not a death, but that person is no longer in your life. So you still process it like it's a death. Thanks, Pretty Little Liars.
I thought it was a good scene for Garcia, and I thought it was great that Rossi was able to, keep calm and cool, because a lot of people, she was lashing out, and you could hear that there was sadness underneath it, but anger was coming out, and so she was being aggressive with the way she was presenting it, and he was calm and cool, and I thought that was
Yeah.
good on his part.
Yeah, because we won't be able to see Hotch again, and that, that does hurt. But I love that Dealey got to see his siblings again.
That moment melted my heart, and it was just so great. And it's one of those things when children are kidnapped, unfortunately, at a younger age, it affects how they grow up. It affects their love map. It affects their imprinting. It in fact affects how they think family is. But these kids were kidnapped when they were older and basically taught a crazy way to survive in the world. So seeing the recognition on their face of their brother and knowing that wasn't brainwashed out of them was just really precious.
Yeah.
It's good for them. Good for them.
And I'm glad that everyone survived in this episode.
Yeah.
No one really died.
And no one went
What's
to
up with
prison.
that?
Yeah. I mean,
It was a unique episode.
It was. It was so unconventional, as we called it earlier.
Yep.
Which I like.
There was a lot of restraint on different people's parts. I mean, when they first met with is it Headley or Healy?
Dealey?
Dealey. Sorry. Yeah, when they first met with Dealey, they showed a lot of restraint in speaking with him because he was aggressive in his approach to his own emotional issues as well.
But
was
rightfully so.
Yeah.
Learning his past and stuff, I can definitely see
We
what he's
get it.
been through.
We
Yeah.
get it. But if you put yourself in the FBI's case or in the cops' place, there's a lot of shit that's gone down with this guy, and it's like in the moment they're just experiencing an aggressive guy. You know what I mean? It's like I mean, once they learn a little bit more of the backstory, they understand it. But from an outside perspective, I think we saw that a couple of times with Garcia and Rossi, and here where there's the aggression that's coming out that's really hurt underneath, and everybody was kind of handling it cool. They had a higher perspective on things.
Nice.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this episode for the fun. It had a great balance of, heart from the BAU and them, everybody bonding together as a family, quote unquote. And then we had all the kids bonding together as siblings and as family, which I really enjoyed. No one died and everyone survived. And we were all happy and saying kumbaya.
Maybe that's what bugged me.
It was too happy?
Was too happy, damn it. No.
No, I think it was
No, it was an
great.
interesting episode.
All right, so let's get into my fun segment that I like to call Profile.
Profile.
We need a sound effect for that.
But I'll do the
Like I'm working
sound
on
effect. Go for it. Do it again.
Profile. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure if the second time works.
That's not it.
Profile. So fun facts of this episode that you may or may not know. If you don't, you can read all the fun facts at cbs.com and look up Criminal Minds. But the names Bones, PK, and Ridley. Bones is one of the 3 boys kidnapped. Yes, and it was actually inspired by Erica Messer's children. Erica Messer, who's an executive producer on the show. Inspired by Erica Messer's children, whose nickname is Bones. Yeah, and her children also enjoy making movies, so her kids clearly influenced this episode.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, and PK is one of the 14-year-old boys, is actually Anat Messer's old coworker and friend. So, Erica had a hand in
Everybody's
this.
getting woven
Yeah.
into this movie.
Just the names themselves were definitely based on Messer's. Ridley is the name of one of Messer's cousins, hence the unsub's name is James Edward Ridley. Jimmy Ridley.
You got to wonder if you're one of the names that gets a negative character, what the meaning of that is.
Yeah, maybe. And
Why
then
was I the crazy one?
Messer's family was involved in all of this. Messer's in-laws were the inspiration for this episode's location. They live in Clayton, Delaware.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah, and yes, the movies that were filmed on the iPhones that the kids captured were actually filmed by Matthew Gray Gubler himself. And one
He
more,
did a good job.
That's great.
he did. And one more fun thing: the trapped volunteer seen in the episode is Andre Ellingson, the show's special effects supervisor. I think he was the guy laying on the floor where we first saw Johnny in the light.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I think those were his legs.
Nice
There.
one. Good legs. Nice
Scary.
legs. Nice
Yeah,
legs.
but yeah, that was actually the special effects supervisor.
Okay.
So yeah,
Cool.
check out all those fun facts at cbs.com. Thanks everyone for tuning in. In the meantime, where can everyone follow you?
Follow me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. Reach out, say hi.
You can follow me on Twitter at Michelle_Cullen.
And you can follow me on Twitter at SeraphiniTV. You can follow all of us here, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those fun social media platforms at AfterBuzzTV. We are going to be off for the next week because they're not airing another episode. So in 2 weeks, we'll be back. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Keep rating, keep commenting. I do read all the comments on YouTube. Y'all are great. Keep leaving comments and stuff, and we'll definitely call you out.
Yeah.
And reach out to us. Thanks everyone, and we will see you next time.
Ciao.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.